October 12, 2016. The news broke quietly, almost too quietly. Thomas Mikal Ford, gone. No long farewell tour, no late-night talk show goodbye. Just a headline in an avalanche of shocked fans asking the same thing. What the hell happened to Tommy Ford? We all knew him as Tommy Strawn, the smart, sharp, good-natured guy who seemed like he could handle any of life's absurdities with a smirk and a wisecrack. But behind the camera, there was a different story, one filled with ambition, reinvention, setbacks, and the kind of quiet battles that never make the tabloids. Before we can answer what happened, we have to start at the very beginning. The California Kid, early life and dreams. Thomas Mikal Ford was born on September 5, 1964, in Yorba Linda, California. His childhood wasn't one of Hollywood privilege, far from it. He was raised in a working-class family where resilience wasn't just taught, it was a survival skill. His mother was a school secretary, his father a pipe fitter. Money was tight, but there was no shortage of love or personality. Even as a kid, Tommy towered over his peers. By middle school, he was already over 6 feet tall, but rather than being awkward, he leaned into it, using his size to command the room in school plays and talent shows. Teachers would later recall how he could shift from deadpan comedy to heartfelt sincerity in a single scene. In high school, North High School in Torrance, he was a well-known figure, both on the basketball court and in drama club. At a time when many teenage boys struggled to fit into one box, Tommy lived in two worlds, the athlete and the performer. His drama teacher reportedly told him after a particularly powerful monologue, "You've got something, Tommy. Don't waste it." He listened. After graduation, he enrolled at California State University, Los Angeles, earning a Bachelor of Fine Arts in acting. These were formative years, performing in small black box theaters, working odd jobs to pay tuition, and slowly learning the mechanics of professional acting. In interviews years later, Tommy would describe those years with a mix of pride and exhaustion. "Man, I was broke," he'd laugh. "But every day I woke up excited to create something, even if I was eating ramen noodles for dinner." Breaking through, the 90s sitcom explosion. By the late 1980s, Tommy was hustling hard in Los Angeles, auditioning for commercials, doing bit parts in TV shows, A Different World, living single, and picking up modeling gigs thanks to his imposing 6'4" frame. But his big break came in 1992 when he landed the role that would define his career, Tommy Strawn on Martin. The sitcom, created by and starring Martin Lawrence, became an instant hit. Its mix of outrageous humor, over-the-top characters, and real friendship resonated with audiences. Tommy Strawn was the perfect foil to Martin's manic energy. Calm, cool, witty. He was the guy you wanted at your barbecue. Funny without hogging the spotlight. Dependable without being dull. One running gag became legendary. Tommy's job. Or rather, the mystery of it. Week after week, characters teased him about never actually saying what he did for a living. Fans debated theories. Secret agent? Undercover criminal? Trust fund baby? The writers milked it for 5 seasons. Behind the scenes, Tommy was just as loved. Cast members have spoken about how he brought stability to the often chaotic energy on set. Takina Arnold once said, "If there was tension, Tommy would break it. He was the glue." The success of Martin brought Tommy fame, money, and a deep connection to black television culture of the 90s. He appeared at award shows, did guest spots on other sitcoms, and lent his voice to animated projects. For a while, it seemed the trajectory was nothing but up. The post-Martin pivot, chasing longevity. When Martin ended in 1997, Tommy faced the career crossroads many sitcom stars encounter, the risk of being typecast. He embraced guest roles, New York Undercover, The Parkers, The Jamie Foxx Show, but also looked beyond acting. He directed stage plays, produced short films, and became an advocate for youth empowerment, traveling to schools across the country to speak about self-esteem and personal responsibility. This shift was intentional. In one interview, he said, "I don't just want to make people laugh. I want to leave something behind that matters." This drive led him to publish inspirational books for children, like Positive Attitude Development. But television work was slowing. Casting directors remembered him as Tommy Strawn and struggled to see him in other roles. "It's a blessing and a curse," he admitted. "I'll always be Tommy, but I'm also Thomas." Storm clouds, health, money, and a vanishing act. By the mid-2000s, Tommy was less visible. The entertainment industry had shifted, reality TV was booming, and 90s sitcom stars weren't in high demand. Meanwhile, rumors began circulating. Whispers of financial strain, health issues, and legal troubles. Some of this was true. In 2008, he was involved in a serious knee injury that limited his mobility. Friends said it deeply affected him, not just physically, but emotionally. Acting roles became harder to secure. Public appearances were fewer. Social media, which could have been a lifeline, wasn't something he embraced. Financially, there were reported liens and debt disputes, though Tommy never publicly confirmed details. He did, however, speak candidly about the emotional toll of an inconsistent career. It's not rejection that hurts, it's invisibility. From 2000 to 2010, Tommy maintained the appearance of a working actor and motivational speaker. He was visible enough to keep fans reassured, but insiders knew that much of this activity masked deeper problems. The television offers had slowed to a trickle, and the work that did come often paid a fraction of what a 90s sitcom star once earned. Health problems. The silent decline. By the early 2010s, Tommy's physical health began to show signs of strain. Standing at 6'4" and weighing well over 250 pounds, he carried a heavy frame. Years of knee issues from sports injuries had limited his mobility. Fans noticed he was walking with a slight limp at appearances. Privately, Tommy battled hypertension, a common but dangerous condition, and had been advised to monitor his heart health. Sources close to him say he didn't always follow doctors' recommendations consistently, partly due to a busy travel schedule for speaking engagements, and partly due to his tendency to push through discomfort. In 2016, tragedy struck. Tommy suffered a ruptured abdominal aneurysm, a condition often linked to high blood pressure and other cardiovascular risk factors. The rupture was severe, and despite medical intervention, he passed away on October 12, 2016, in Atlanta. His death at just 52 years old left fans reeling, especially because there had been no public indication that his health was in crisis. Personal life, love, loss, and isolation. Tommy's personal life was kept largely private. He was married for years to Gina Sasso, with whom he shared 2 children, but the marriage ended in divorce in 2014. Friends have suggested that the split, combined with his career struggles, took an emotional toll. Post-divorce, Tommy lived in Atlanta, a city he loved for its cultural vibrancy and proximity to the growing film scene. But while Atlanta's industry was booming, Tommy wasn't securing the kind of roles that might have revitalized his career. Some who knew him say he became more reclusive in his final years. While he would light up in public appearances, his day-to-day life was quieter. Spent writing, mentoring young actors, and occasionally hosting workshops. He avoided social media, which in the 2010s was becoming a lifeline for celebrities to connect with fans. The day the world found out. When the news of Tommy Ford's death hit social media, it spread rapidly, first as a trickle of tweets, then as a flood of tributes. Martin Lawrence tweeted, "Tommy was not only a great co-star, but he was my brother. I will miss him." Tichina Arnold and Tisha Campbell Martin posted heartfelt messages about his kindness and humor. For many fans, it was the first time they had thought about Tommy in years, a bittersweet reminder of how quickly the industry and the public can move on from once beloved stars. More than a sitcom star, to millions, Tommy Ford will forever be Tommy Strawn, the well-dressed, mysterious friend with no visible job but endless charm. But that's only the surface. Off-screen, Tommy was a passionate advocate for personal growth, education, and community empowerment. In the early 2000s, when acting jobs slowed, Tommy didn't retreat in bitterness. Instead, he pivoted to motivational speaking, visiting schools across the United States. He would walk into gymnasiums full of restless teenagers and hold them captive with stories, not about Hollywood, but about perseverance, self-worth, and responsibility. He authored inspirational books for children, including Positive Attitude Development, PAD, encouraging young readers to build self-confidence and stay focused on their goals. Teachers who hosted him often said his visits were the most impactful day of the school year. Mentorship and the next generation. Tommy's commitment to mentorship wasn't performative. It was personal. In Atlanta, he became a quiet but steady presence in the local arts community. He mentored young actors not by promising fame but by teaching discipline and craft. Several actors who later found success have credited Tommy with giving them their first sense of professional possibility. One young performer recalled, "He didn't just tell me I could act. He told me I could be a good person in this business. That stuck with me." This behind-the-scenes role was largely invisible to the public, but within certain creative circles, Tommy was a respected elder statesman. The Martin legacy, cultural impact. It's impossible to discuss Tommy Ford's life without acknowledging the cultural significance of Martin. The sitcom wasn't just funny, it was a cornerstone of 90s black television, alongside Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, Living Single, and In Living Color. These shows didn't just entertain, they reflected real-life dynamics in African American communities with authenticity and humor. Tommy's role in Martin was pivotal. His character brought balance to the chaos, often acting as the voice of reason amidst Martin's antics. The man with no job running gag became one of sitcom history's most beloved mysteries. To this day, memes and TikTok clips reference it, proving the staying power of Tommy's comedic presence. In interviews after the show ended, Tommy often said, "That was lightning in a bottle. We knew we had something special, but we didn't know it would last this long." Even now, reruns continue to air, introducing his work to younger generations. Unfinished projects and dream. At the time of his death, Tommy was still creatively active. He had been working on a documentary about bullying, aiming to highlight its emotional and social consequences. He had also discussed returning to television in a recurring role, possibly in a drama series, something that would showcase his range beyond comedy. Sadly, these projects never saw completion. Friends believe that if he had lived longer, Tommy could have enjoyed a resurgence as a respected character actor, much like other sitcom veterans who reinvented themselves in later years. The shockwave of his death. When Tommy passed away in 2016, the reaction was immediate and heartfelt. Fans flooded social media with clips, quotes, and personal memories. Celebrities shared tributes, not just for his talent, but for his kindness. Tisha Campbell Martin wrote, "You always had a smile for everyone, and a kind word. You were my friend, my brother, my family." Titina Arnold called him a true gentleman with a giant heart. Even those who had never met him felt the loss deeply, because his work had become a part of their personal history. Final reflections. What Tommy Ford taught us. So, what the hell happened to Tommy Ford? The simplest answer is that life happened. The highs, the lows, the slow fade from the spotlight, and the sudden, tragic end. But in between, there was purpose. He taught us that fame is fleeting, but impact is lasting. That you can be known for making people laugh, and still be remembered for making them think. That you can step away from the spotlight and still shine. In a way, Tommy Ford never really disappeared. His face still pops up in memes. His voice still echoes in sitcom reruns. His lessons still live in the hearts of the students he mentored. And for those who grew up watching Martin, he'll always be Tommy, the man who made you laugh until you cried, without ever telling you what he did for a living.